Are you a prisoner of fear? Well, how would you know? Well, the shorthand answer is that you'd feel anxious. Because anxiety is your experience of being imprisoned by fear. And if you want a slightly larger answer, it means that there are things that you cannot do because something bad might happen. There are things that it doesn't feel like you can do them because it might have some unpleasant consequence. Your comfort zone of life has become smaller, and it may become smaller yet because you are imprisoned by fear. Now, if you were imprisoned in the real world and you had like four walls and just a hard bed and no TV and rubbish food and nothing to read, that would be hard time. Solitary confinement, hard time. But suppose someone gave you a TV, your confinement would be a little bit easier. And suppose the food that you were given was more palatable, your confinement would be easier still. And then perhaps you got some books and magazines. Again, your imprisonment becomes easier time. But in your prison of fear, if you're given an antidepressant, your imprisonment becomes a little bit easier. It's harder to tolerate, it's easier to bear. And if you're given an anxiolytic on top of that, again, it's easier still. And if you're given a little bit of support to reduce the things that you would normally do, so you don't really need to challenge the walls of the prison, again, it's easier still. You remain imprisoned, however. You can have a colour TV, you can have books and magazines, you can have great food, you're still in prison. You can take an antidepressant, an anxiolytic, you can restrict your life, you're still in prison. The question is, do you want to be in prison? Now, the majority of people are content to be in prison, and I don't take an issue with that, that's fine. If you're not content to be in prison, then we have to think about how you're going to escape. Escaping from prison requires time and effort. Escaping from prison requires commitment. Now, if you're unhappy to be in prison and you're not prepared to put any time and effort in, or you're not prepared to make the commitment to escape, you're just going to be unhappy, and that's going to cause all sorts of other problems. As a general principle, I would say that nobody needs to be imprisoned by fear. Nobody needs to be a prisoner of fear. Nobody needs to be anxious. Anxiety is a misinterpretation of cognitive and emotional signals, and to a large degree it is a habit that is practiced. Nobody needs to be anxious. To escape anxiety, to escape the prison of fear, requires a little bit of time and effort and a little bit of commitment. And if you put that in, it is entirely possible to escape. And then the opposite of prison, in a sense, is freedom, right? The freedom to do what you want to do, the freedom to go where you want to go, and the freedom to have an experience of life that is without the boundaries of this artificial fantasy prison of fear. If you'd like to know more, then be sure to click on the link below.